foremost, Yoga Nidra, it's a state of consciousness. So it's the state of consciousness that's induced by the guided meditation. That state of consciousness is a lot like when you first wake up in the morning and your personality or your life structure hasn't settled in yet. So it's a state of resting wakefulness. So yoga, the word is translated into yoking or unifying, and nidra literally is translated into sleep, but it represents all of the sleep states, meaning it represents all of the subconscious and unconscious states as well. So yoga nidra, literally translated, is dynamic sleep, but it's more accurate to say that it's the practice of integrating every level of your bodies and every level of your being. So from your physical body to your energetic body to your emotional body, your mental, as well as your spiritual body. So integrating all of those. Um, so yoga nidra is it's a profound practice that goes a lot deeper than just being a simple relaxation. The ultimate goal of yoga nidra, just like yoga or meditation, is self-realization as well as knowing your true nature. So yoga nidra today is mostly used as a relaxation technique to help you dislodge deep-seated stresses and psychosomatic tensions and illnesses, which is really great in today's world. But it can also be used to develop better memory, to increase knowledge and creativity, as well as to help you transform behaviors and even help to treat addictions. Um, so a little bit of history about Yoga Nidra. It was developed by a man who's named Swami Satyananda Saraswati. And he, back in the late 40s and early 50s, was living with his guru in India. And Swami Satyananda was a night guard in a Sanskrit school for boys. And what happened to him, an interesting experience happened to him, was that every night, like when he was supposed to be a night guard in the school, he would fall asleep at around 3 o'clock in the morning. And um, during an event, a ceremony at the school, the boys were chanting prayers and mantras, and Swami Satyananda was listening to this, and he realized that the chants and the prayers were very familiar to him, to the point where he can chant with the boys without, having ever practiced or consciously heard the chants before. And what happened was that he would fall asleep around 3 o'clock in the morning, and at 4, the boys would get up to recite their chants and their prayers. So Swami Satyananda, what he realized was that he gained direct knowledge without having necessarily a direct input, a conscious input from what was happening. So essentially what happened was that that was the sort of birth, that was the event that birthed Yoga Nidra for him. It made him really interested in how come he could gain knowledge and remember this stuff when he was supposedly in an unconscious state. And so he realized that a sleep state doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a totally unconscious state, and there's still part of your mind that stays aware. So he started researching the Vedas, which are the Sanskrit text, the yogic Sanskrit text, as well as hypnotic techniques. And he realized that when you're in this relaxed state, you can have access to your brain and your mind's mainframe, where you become very receptive to autosuggestions, and you can from there set an intention or an inception, a seed in the inception point, and you can it can help you reprogram your brain into more coherence and harmony with life. So you would want to practice yoga nidra essentially because it's the antithesis to stress and stress-related illnesses from today, and it treats, psychosomatic illnesses like insomnia and hypertension, migraines, and so on. when I practice yoga nidra, it really leaves me like with a sense of calm and of well-being. At the same time, for me, what it does is like it creates sort of a protective barrier for my consciousness and for my energy between, you know, myself and the world. So there's sort of an energetic buffer between like what happens like on the news and in my life, and it keeps me calm and centered to be able to deal and manage my life experiences and what I see. And also, what it does for me is like it really, by creating this protective barrier, it really helps me, like I was telling Chris before, kind of reclaim my personal power, where I can then like focus it in a nice clear channel, which helps me to be a lot more creative, right? Because I'm not distracted from all kinds of things that are going on. So a little bit how it works. Essentially, what it does is it really releases deep-seated tensions and stresses by moving, like I was talking before, by moving your consciousness and your awareness inwards. And once you reclaim all of this energy, you are better able to rebalance your body back into harmony, because we're natural beings, and just like a flower and a tree, they have innately and intrinsically the knowing to grow and flourish, and we do also. And it's most of the time what happens is it's because like our energy is so scattered that, you know, it breaks down and we get diseases and stuff like that. So yoga nidra, it stimulates the state of consciousness that really helps you repattern and reorganize your internal resources in order to stimulate your body's natural healing responses. Technically, yoga nidra has 8 stages, and not every practice will include every stage. The stages depend on time constraints, as well as practitioner's level and the practitioner's health. So the first stage of yoga nidra is an initial deepening. The second, which is really important, is the intention. So like I was saying before, the intention is the mental statement. It's the seed that will go, that you'll go sow into your subconscious in order to let it germinate and let it grow. Typically, the practitioners, the person who sets the intention for themselves during the practice, but I prefer in my Yoga Nidra guided meditation sessions, I prefer setting the intention for the practitioner. For a few reasons. First, because it really helps like the practitioner relax completely, and he or she is not worried about whether they're doing it correctly or if they're setting their intentions correctly. It also helps to maintain the meditative state, because the stating of the intention will happen at the beginning as well as at the end of the meditation. And so at the end, you know, once you're really relaxed, and sometimes like you don't know who you are anymore, you don't know where you are because you've been so relaxed, you've been, you know, so deep in a relaxation state. And when you say, well, restate your intention, so it could jog the person out of that meditative state to try to figure out what the intention was, or if they're getting it correctly and stuff like that. So what we want to do is really like help people maintain that meditative state as long as possible. And the third, which is really important, usually people don't set the right intentions for themselves, or they won't necessarily use the intention that'll be most beneficial for them. So I had a student who was suffering from migraines and insomnia, and her intention was like to make more money. Because she thought that by making more money, it would alleviate her stresses, and therefore her migraines and her insomnia would go away. But she kind of had it backwards. You know, she had to try to get herself into a state of relaxation so that, you know, with the intention of healing the body so that the migraines would go away, and then she would be able to be efficient or flourish enough to be able to find creative ways of getting more money, or maybe it wouldn't even be an issue after that. Third stage, body scan, which is really interesting because it's called the rotation of consciousness as well. And so you focus on different parts of the bodies, and we'll do that in the meditation later. And so what it does is it kind of confuses your mind into a gentle state of compliance where, your suggestions, auto suggestion is more compliant. Breath awareness, which is the fourth stage. So it's said that the breath is really the bridge between your physical self and your non-physical self. So the purpose of this stage is really to have your breath, your chi, and your life force really send it into every nook and cranny of all of your bodies. So not just from your head to your toe, but also to the trillions of cells that make up your organs and the trillions of cells that go to work your glands so that you trigger the right balance of hormones and all of the juices within your body. The fifth stage is called proprioception, and at this stage we really play around with the boundaries of your consciousness and your awareness. So I might have you say, see yourself lying down on the floor, and then see yourself from the upper right corner of the room looking down at you lying on the floor, and then look at yourself from the right side and from under, from on top. And so what we're wanting to stimulate with this stage is really that your true nature is really boundless. And so what we do is we play with different positions and different sensations relative to your physical body. Number 6, the sixth stage is all about visualizations and representations. So for example, you could use Yoga Nidra to have a question answered. So I could lead you into a meditation that brings you into a forest around a campfire with a council of elders, for example, and you sit down with them and you ask them your questions, and you hear what they tell you, what they say. Number 7 is the restating of the intention, like I was saying. And number 8 is the return. So the gentle return of the consciousness back into the physical body to give the practitioner the time to really acclimate and integrate all of the things that just happened during the Yoga Nidra session. So, you can imagine, I guess, that the benefits of Yoga Nidra are really numerous, from strengthening the immune as well as the endocrine system, or balancing the nervous system, reducing high blood pressure, just to increasing work efficiency and creativity, as well as, and what I think is really important, cultivating nonviolence as well as feelings of bliss and joy. Anyone can do Yoga Nidra. There's, regardless of age, gender, political preferences, physical constraints, you can do Yoga Nidra. You can do it at any time of day as well. You could need as little as 8 minutes a day, and you could reap the benefits. But like anything else, like a sport or a hobby, the more you practice something that's good for you, the better you get at it, and the more benefits you can reap from it. I would say that the only constraint to practicing Yoga Nidra is to do it somewhere that's quiet and to not be disturbed. But you can do Yoga Nidra right before bed, so that could be super beneficial. You get ready for bed, you lie down, you put on your earphones, and you just fall asleep to a Yoga Nidra meditation. For me, there's no one form of meditation that's necessarily better than another one, but I prefer Yoga Nidra just because it's easier to get in and stay in the state of meditation when you're being guided. And especially if you're a person that's really stressed or that's new to meditation, you reap the benefits and the feeling of it from the first practice that you do it. And as a bonus, or to really seal the deal or sell Yoga Nidra, is that it's really foolproof. So you can't do it wrong. Whether your consciousness whether you drift in and out of consciousness, it still works for you. and you'll still reap the benefits, just like, you know, Swami Satyananda reaped the benefits of the direct knowledge while he was, you know, while he was sleeping on the job, really. So finally, if you're interested in knowing more, there's this book that's called Yoga Nidra. It was written by Swami Satyananda Saraswati, and it really explains everything and all of the benefits. And even at the end, you have a section where they go deeper into the different brain frequencies and how they, like I was saying before to Matthew, how they hooked up some people to EEG machines while they were doing yoga nidra. And so the results of all of that, and how navigating through the different brain waves, you know, gives you certain benefits, like when you're in alpha or theta, and like all of the different benefits that you get from the deeper levels. So that's basically it. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused when you said that there were 8 stages.
Yeah.
In one meditation session, do you go through the 8 stages, or do you decide what you want to focus?
No, that's it. That's what I was saying. Like, depending, you can do, like, you always have, like, obviously, like the entry stage and the intention stage, and the body scan is usually important. But then when it comes to the breath awareness or the proprioception, as well as the journeying, you can either bring them in or not, and it all depends on your time constraints and the practitioner's level, as well as the practitioner's health. So I did a meditation, for example, where instead of journeying into the forest, it's you go into a cinema room, and you're sitting at the back of the cinema in this lounge chair, and you have the remote, and you're the one controlling the screen. And I guide them into having different squares up on the screen, and each different square is a different memory that they have. And then to bring intuitively, like, one image more to the foreground while it's, you know, taking the entire image. And that type of meditation could really help you change your perspective on a situation that's happened to you, or help you release the emotional charge from a trauma. But now, like, I'm going to put as a disclaimer here that, you know, if you've had a deep trauma, you know, you should always work with a professional. So depending on the practitioner's mental health, you know, maybe you're not going to do a meditation that, you know, if they're claustrophobic, you're going to go put them in a gravesite to do a death meditation or something like that, you know. So it all depends. They don't have all of the stages, but they usually have the first ones, like the initial, the intention, the body scan, as well as restating the intention and the return at the end. And then you can move the middle around a little bit. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And for those of you that like science, my favorite neuroscientist, Dr. Andrew Huberman, he's how I heard about Yoga Nidra, because he was saying it's one of the only types of meditation with so much actually like peer-reviewed Blue Journal scientific research on its effectiveness. And he calls it one of his non-sleep deep rest protocols. So because when we're learning stuff, we don't actually learn and retain the information when we're reading and learning it. But if you're doing Yoga Nidra, you will actually integrate the things that you want to learn. So he said, if you've actually, like, let's say you've watched a webinar or you've watched a TED Talk or something where you really, really have loved the information and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so good. You've got all these notes. You're like, I want to remember this. One of the best things you can do is actually go do like a 20-minute Yoga Nidra session to just relax your body and let it do what it needs to do to actually integrate. So for those that love the sciencey part of it, he has tons of papers and research and stuff on it. So.
Yeah. Also, like in the book, and I think you can find some online, you have some scripts, like some Yoga Nidra scripts. And what's really trippy and really fun and interesting is if you write yourself a script, like a short script, and then you record yourself and you you give yourself your meditation, it can have profound healing effects to listen to your own voice, to learn something, or just get you in a state of relaxation or for some deep healing and stuff like that. Yeah.
So cool. I was thinking of you last night, actually, because I started doing some harder workouts this week. And so yesterday I was sore, like so sore and so tired last night. Like I was like, and got back from walking the dog at like 9:30. And I was like, I forgot to take the garbage down. I meant to take it down when I took the dog out. So my son's like, are you going to do it? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I don't want to leave it in the kitchen. So come back. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this yoga nidra before I go to bed, because I have a feeling it's going to help me feel just way more rested and less like actually painful in the morning when I got up. And so this morning when I woke up, you know how it's always like the second day, if you've done a bunch of squats and stuff like that, and you go to get up and you're like, oh boy, do I feel that. It was so much better. So I'm putting it to yoga nidra, but
Nice.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I definitely felt way more just relaxed and less pained this morning. So there you go.
In the book, they have all kinds of like results. He did yoga nidra in a prison for men, and how it helped them like get calmer, and all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. He also trained like this boy from the age of 4 or 9, I'm not too sure, and this boy went on to like learn a bunch of languages and was super successful. And yeah,
it's a great energizer too. Like I find if you're super tired in the day and you know you've only got like 15 or 20 minutes, but you have like important work or things you need to do in the day, I've used it for that too, where I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing right now. And it really helps me anyway. So that's why I was so excited actually when you joined the community. I'm like, oh my God, I just heard about this. So we have someone that's doing this. So I'm really happy about this for my own personal self. Any other questions before we move into the actual practice itself?
I'll take that as a good sign if nobody has any questions.
All right.
I just missed it. I'm so sorry to be late, Lena. I actually hung up on my support call so I wouldn't miss got here as soon as I could. I'm sorry, but I did miss. Is this the kind of thing that you could put on at like 4 o'clock in the morning instead of stress thoughts? And you probably have already said that, but
stress thoughts?
Do you know when you wake up in the middle of the night and you know that stress at 4 o'clock in the morning that kicks in? I start listening to Andrew Huberman YouTube videos, but I was thinking that this might be a better thing to listen to in that sort of that sort of halfway sleep state. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's it. So at the beginning I said, yeah, yoga nidra is a state of consciousness, really, that's induced by the guided meditation, and it's akin to the state where you just wake up, not when you're stressed when waking up, but that state where when you wake up and you don't know who you are, like you don't know what day it is, or and you have no conscious awareness of your body or of your personality. So so that's the state.
I can't wait to listen to the beginning. I won't make you go over it again, but I will listen to the replay of this for sure.
But I would suggest maybe you do it before going to bed, like I said. So after a couple of practices, or maybe even just after the first one, I'm not sure you'll wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning anymore being stressed. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Lena.
You're welcome.
Nice. So do you want to set us up for this? Sure. And then, as I said, once we start, you can go off camera, get yourself set up. And then when she finishes this, you can she'll tell you, stay to really embody it. And I'll just end the call for everyone. And then I'll actually put a little post in our circle so that you could actually share too, I think, your feedback with Lena about what you noticed, what you experienced after doing the practice. And we can talk about it next week as well. So
that's good.
Yeah. All right.
So okay, so you can do, typically yoga nidra is done lying down. I think all of you can lie down. If not, you could do it sitting in a chair, but I recommend that you do it lying down. I suggest that you obviously you close your camera and your microphone. I will also close my camera so you really listen to what I have to say. You could, it's beneficial if you do it with some earphones. So however best you can get comfortable with earphones. If you tend to get cold, you can get a blanket to cover yourself up. Sorry, I got distracted there. So yeah, so if you tend to get cold, you could put you could do it in your bed. You could, you know, cover yourself with some covers. You can also put an eye pillow on your eyes, whatever really, you know, whatever gets you like really comfortable. Get yourself a nice, you know, soft doo-doo there. Like my daughter, you know, she has her favorite little doo-doo that she holds or whatever, just to get yourself nice and comfortable. The aim of getting really comfortable is so that you don't move during the practice as best as you can. It's not the end of the world, but just like I said, you know, I'm trying to get you in a meditative state or in a state of like sort of blissfulness, and to try to keep you there as long as possible so that it stimulates your body's natural rebalancing response and healing properties. Sound good? I'm just going to give you guys another minute or so.